Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time for some Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 10, Journey to Babel. I can't wait for this one, and I can't believe we're already into 10 episodes of Season 2, but it's time to keep going, friends. But before we do that, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, you'll be alerted next time we go live with the original series or any of our sci-fi content. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to the Patreon is in the description. Not a fan of Patreon? Stick with us here on YouTube memberships. You'll get all the episodes about a day early, plus any bonus episodes we come up with. But friends, all that's then. This is now. And now it's time for Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 10, Journey to Babel. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction. And away we go! Beauty, beauty. Ooh,
I don't know how much
dressies.
longer I'm gonna be able to stand this. Feel like my neck's in a sling.
McCoy, you complaining?
Sure. Formal reception tonight. 114 delegates aboard for 2 weeks.
Look at the living Enterprise.
Other half and the whole lot touchier than a raw antimatter pile over the...
Look at this, aliens in the hallway.
Shuttlecraft approaching with Ambassador Sarek's party. Estimate arrival 1 minute.
Bring him aboard, Mr. Chekhov.
Ambassador Sarek?
Stand by to recover shuttlecraft. Honor guard to the hangar deck.
Oh, look at this.
Clear hangar deck. Clear hangar deck. Depressurizing.
I don't like all those red shirts in the same area. Oh, wow, look at that. That's opening up into a big stage there, soundstage. Look at this. This is cool.
How does that Vulcan salute go? That hurts worse than the uniform.
Mark Leonard.
My first officer, Spock.
Vulcan honors us with your presence. We come to serve.
Your service honors us, Captain.
Thank you. Chief Medical Officer, Dr. McCoy.
Ambassador?
Doctor.
No reciprocation of the live long and prosper to Spock? Did I miss that, or?
Captain Kirk?
Our pleasure, madam. As soon as you're settled, I'll arrange a tour of the ship. Mr. Spock will conduct you.
I prefer another guide, Captain.
Wow.
Mr. Spock, we'll leave orbit in 2 hours. Would you care to beam down and visit your parents?
Captain, Ambassador Sarek and his wife are my parents.
No shit. Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. I was dumbstruck in that one. As soon as they said Sarek, I was like, oh shit. I have no clue why there's such animosity between, again, that's a feeling, it's an emotion. I can't believe that his mom wasn't like Spock, when she saw him, but I guess that was to maintain the narrative reveal. Oh my God, so cool. So we have like a big kind of like ambassadorial diplomacy UN type of thing. They said a lot of delegates. So is this like a federation meeting, or also how effing cool is it to have the Enterprise alive like that? I mean, all those extras, all like dressed to the nines and all their, alien garb, and just so cool. Such respect for this creative team. Look at that beauty. DC! We're back to Pevney. Son of a bitch.
After all these years among humans, you still haven't learned to smile.
Humans smile with so little provocation.
And you haven't come to see us in 4 years either.
The situation between my father and myself has not changed.
But Spock, your mom's gonna get older so much faster.
He chose to devote his knowledge to Starfleet instead of the Vulcan Science Academy.
Is this the first time we've heard about the Vulcan Science Academy?
If you will excuse me, Captain.
I'm sorry, Master. I did not mean to offend. I thought that...
Offense is a human emotion, Captain. I'm returning to my quarters. Continue, my wife.
I like that.
It's logical. It's a better way than ours, but it's not easy. It has kept Spock and Sarek from speaking as father and son for 18 years.
18 years.
And my friend.
I'm glad he has such a friend. It hasn't been easy on Spock.
Wow, I think it's the first time he said that.
Spock disagreed with his father on a choice of career.
Oh, my husband has nothing against Starfleet.
That brought a tear to my eye.
And it's a better opportunity for a scientist to study the universe than he could get at the Vulcan Science Academy.
He gets to do science shit, Amanda.
As Sarek followed the teachings of his own father.
They're both stubborn.
A human trait, Captain?
I like this friendship. I like this dynamic quite a bit. Let's do more of this, please.
But it was a strong signal, as though it was very close.
Go to alert status 4. Begin long-range scanning. Kirk out.
That's awesome.
The Interplanetary Conference will consider the petition of the Corridon planets to be admitted to the Federation.
Oh, this is for admittance into the Federation.
Races who have strong personal reasons for keeping Corridon out of the Federation.
Please, please.
Problem aboard the Enterprise is to make sure that open warfare does not break out among the delegates.
2 Play-Doh ice cubes and some Kool-Aid.
Isn't it unusual for a Vulcan to retire at your age? After all, you're only 102.
102.437 precisely, Doctor.
Okay.
Sarek of Vulcan, do you vote to admit Corridon to the Federation?
Tell her rights.
My government's instructions will be heard in the council chambers on Babel.
No, you. How do you vote, Sarek of Vulcan?
Oh, an Andorian.
I'm fully aware that the admission of Corridon is a highly debatable issue, but you won't solve it here.
The Andorian looks really good. The Tellurite, the sunken eyes, still good though.
Mrs. Sarek, I know about the rigorous training of the Vulcan youth, but tell me, did he ever run and play like the human children, even in sea?
Don't embarrass him.
He did have a pet sailor he was very fond of.
Solid.
Sort of a fat teddy bear.
It's a pet.
A teddy bear?
Plum, come on.
It's been a rather long day for my wife.
So they touch right fingers.
On Vulcan, the teddy bears are alive, and they have 6-inch fangs.
Bridge to Captain Kirk.
I like how Chekhov's on the PA. The Andorians look really good.
Captain, sensors are registering an unidentified vessel pacing us.
On my way.
Pacing? Like shadowing?
A small ship, Captain. It's been there 5 minutes, remaining outside phaser range with extreme limit of sensors.
No, Sulu, I don't like this.
Does she answer a hail?
I've tried all frequencies and hooked on the universal translator. No response, sir.
Maintain translator broadcast. Get a guess what she is?
Yes, Captain. I shall need more data for my estimate.
Let me correct you, Jim. It's not a guess, it's an estimate.
You embarrassed Spock this evening. Not even a mother may do that. He is a Vulcan.
He's also human.
He is a Starfleet officer.
You seem proud.
Sarek, you're proud of him, aren't you? You're showing an almost human pride in your son.
It does not require pride to ask that Spock be given the respect which is his due.
What happened?
I love you anyway. I know, it isn't logical.
Oh, this is a dynamic I never knew I wanted to explore, but I really do.
Phasers armed and ready, sir.
Whoa, holy shit.
Interesting.
Interesting?
Traveling at approximately warp 10.
Starfleet acknowledges report on our situation and confirms no authorized Federation vessel in this quadrant.
You know, they just buzzed the tower.
Faster, more maneuverable, and unidentified. Mr. Spock, full analysis of sensor readings. I want to know who that intruder is.
Yep. All the info we need. There's a lot of important people on board. Is Sarek sick?
Vulcan, I would speak to you.
does seem unavoidable.
It does seem unavoidable.
We favor admission.
You favor? Why? Vulcan has no mining interest.
Corridon has nearly unlimited wealth of dilithium crystals.
Dilithium.
You accuse us?
Some of your ships have been carrying Corridon dilithium crystals.
You call us thieves?
Gentlemen.
Gentlemen.
There will be payment for your slander, Sarek.
Threats are illogical. And payment is usually expensive.
Vulcan threats and insults are my fucking favorites. Is he dead?
Security to Captain Kirk.
Kirk here.
Oh, look at this. Look at this beefcake.
I just found one of the Tellarites murdered. I think it's the ambassador himself, sir.
Dear God. Bill Shatner was built like a brick shithouse back then.
His neck was broken.
Oh.
Explain.
Well, from the nature and the location of the break, I'd say the killer knew exactly where to apply pressure to snap the neck instantly.
Wow.
Vulcans. On Vulcan, the method is called ToS. It was considered a merciful form of execution in ancient times.
ToS?
A short time ago, I broke up an argument between Gav and your father.
Indeed, Captain. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, what else am I going to say?
I'm merely saying it would be illogical to kill without reason.
But if he had a reason...
He still wouldn't. What I mean...
If there were a reason, my father is quite capable of killing.
Really?
Logically and efficiently.
Really? We got some bad news.
I must speak to your husband.
Well, he's been gone for some time. It's his habit to meditate in private before retiring.
Oh, there goes the alibi. Excuse me, everyone. I was busy meditating.
His neck was broken, Mr. Ambassador, by what Spock describes as ToS.
But such meditation is a personal experience, not to be discussed, especially not with Esmond.
Well, that's a very convenient excuse, Ambassador.
He is sick. I always thought it was Sarek, too. It's Sarek. He's checking in on his friend.
I'm sorry about your father.
Yes, it could adversely affect our mission. Worry is a human emotion, Captain. I accept what has happened.
I love that move by Jim.
Cloaked against sensor probes. It is manned, but sensors cannot make out specifics.
Careful about pushing here, Jim.
The Romulans have nothing like it. Certainly not the Federation or the neutral planets. What about the Klingons?
Look at these mentions.
The directional locator indicates reception point somewhere within the body of this ship.
The call's coming from inside the house. This is a good episode already. Christine! But we don't have Sulu, so no Big 8.
Mr. Sarek, has he had any previous attacks?
No.
Yes,
Oh,
there were 3 others.
he's been hiding
My
it.
physician prescribed benzosidrine for the condition.
Why didn't you tell me?
When did you have these attacks?
2 before we left Vulcan. The 3rd a few hours ago. When the Tellarite was murdered, I was quite incapacitated.
There were no witnesses.
None.
Oh, well, I mean, can't we confirm within the ship?
I suggest that a serogenic open heart procedure would be the logical approach.
Yes, unquestionably.
Bones, what about it?
Can you do that, Bones?
Well, the procedure they're discussing would require tremendous amounts of blood for the patient.
There isn't enough Vulcan blood and plasma on board to even begin an operation of this type.
There are other Vulcans aboard.
My blood type is T negative.
Yes, I'd say that's rare.
My blood is T negative, Doctor.
We've run a number of blood tests on Mr. Spock. It isn't true Vulcan blood either.
Even you couldn't give that much blood, Spock. It would kill you.
Bones.
He's willing to do it, though.
You must understand the chances are extremely small to find a way to produce sufficient T negative blood.
Indeed. I would estimate the odds.
Please don't.
Okay, what do our... And that's, by the way, the first time we've heard them talk about other Vulcans on board the ship. I don't know if they mean crew or like ambassadorial people.
Oh, I've studied the anatomical types. I know where all the organs are. But that's a lot different from actual surgical experience.
You can do it, Bones. You're the best.
What drug?
A chemical stimulant to speed up reproduction and replacement of blood in the body. It places a tremendous strain on the spleen and the liver. In Sarek's condition, the stimulant would kill him.
Okay, so it's not what he was taking. This is an experimental drug. Okay. Wow, a lot of thought going into this.
A transfusion from you to your father.
It would seem the only answer.
You could kill them both.
It could damage you internally. It could kill you.
I'm volunteering myself as the blood donor.
I love all the plot points in this. Sarek's illness, the murder, the ghosting ship, a lot of distraction elements. What the fuck?
Oh!
That was abrupt as shit.
Oh! Oh!
What the hell was that, Jim? That was a great stunt by Bill Shatner. Jim. Not great, bud.
Spark here.
I'm on deck 5, near my quarters. Security team.
Yep.
He's hurt.
Captain's log. Star date 3843.
Spock giving it.
Punctured left lung. Centimeter so lower, it had gone through the heart.
I'll be in the brig questioning the Andorian prisoner.
Doctor, the K2 factor is dropping.
Oh, boy. You talk about 2 VIP patients.
Father's much worse. There's no longer a choice. I have to operate immediately. We can begin as soon as you're prepared.
No, Doctor.
He has to be in charge.
My first responsibility is to the ship. Our passenger's safety is by Starfleet order of first importance.
You can turn command over to Scotty.
On what grounds, Doctor? Command requirements do not recognize personal privilege.
Oh, my God. He's right.
I suggest his mind has been so conditioned as part of a preconceived plan.
My people are a violent race, but we had no quarrel with Captain Kirk.
I recognize that Andorian, the attacker.
Devote yourself to motivations of passion or gain.
Yeah. Destabilization. I mean, we're talking about a conference here to let people into the Federation. This could definitely throw a wrench into that, obviously.
Any competent officer can command this ship under normal circumstances. The circumstances are not normal.
He's right. He's right.
We're being pursued by an alien ship. We're subject to possible attack. There has been murder and attempted murder on board.
There's a lot of shit going on, Mom.
Your duty is to your father.
I know.
Oh.
Your father's dying.
He wants to do it.
Nothing is as important as your father's life.
Can you imagine what my father would say if I were to agree? Jeopardize hundreds of lives, risk interplanetary war, all for the life of one person.
Oh, boy. The needs of the many.
There must be some part of me in you. Some part that I still can reach.
You are reaching him. He just...
And let your father die. And I'll hate you for the rest of my life.
Wow. Wow, that was a real slap. That rocked Nimoy's whole head. I'm gonna go back and watch that slap. Either that was a hell of a stage slap.
I'd like to get my hands on the guy with the sledgehammer.
The one who hit you?
No, the one inside my head.
When you became injured, Spock assumed command. He's gonna stay there till you get back on your feet, even if it costs Sarek his life.
Well, you just told Jim something.
For doing his duty, but I'm not gonna let him commit patricide.
Help me the fuck up.
Stan, you could start to bleed again.
Do you think Jim really is concerned about that?
Bones?
His buddy needs him.
I'll convince Spock I'm all right. And order him to report here. As soon as he leaves the bridge, I'll turn command over to Scotty.
You know that's never gonna happen.
Captain.
I'll take over, Mr. Spock. Report to sickbay with Dr. McCoy.
Captain, are you quite all right?
I've certified him physically fit, Mr. Spock. Since I have an operation...
That's a lie, Plum. Jim really playing it up. Watch him like pass out as soon as he gets in the turbo lift.
To scout to the bridge.
Captain, the alien vessel is moving closer.
Belay that order. I'll stay here.
Oh.
But it's coming from inside the Enterprise.
Specific origin.
From the brig, sir.
Security.
Yep. Green-blooded Vulcans.
Blood pressure 90/40. Dropping.
I wish I knew whether that was good or bad.
That's a good sign.
Mr. Spock.
Where do you think you're going?
I must see the captain.
Why?
So is your father's life.
Christine, that's probably the right thing to do. Even though, maybe give him 10 seconds to finish that thought. Careful. See ya. Oh, you're not an Andorian. I can't tell if this guy's wearing shoulder pads or he's just a big dude.
He had some sort of transceiver. It was hidden in his antenna.
Moving directly toward us at warp 8.
Dear God.
Fletcher's on. Red alert.
Who has this tech?
Is there standby to fire on my order?
Aye, sir.
Shields up. There we go.
Primed and ready, sir.
Check out. Take over Spock scanners.
Aye, sir.
See how he immediately pivoted out of Navigator? Oh, this is great for Bones. Bones is like, what the fuck is going on?
Fire as he passes, Ensign.
Ooh.
All the ambassadors are asking what's going on.
Tell them to take a good guess, but clear that board, Lieutenant.
Jim's like, I've got too much going on, and I fucking hurt.
More like that, I'm going to lose both feet.
This is an incredibly well-constructed episode.
On my order, fire photon torpedoes 2, 4, and 6. Widest possible scatter.
Aye, sir.
Pevney and Fontana hitting it out of the park with this one. Nice.
Full spread missed, sir. They're moving too fast for us.
It's too fast for tracking.
Doctor, his heart stopped.
Cardio stimulate.
Jesus. God, the tension in this is so well done.
The systems are off.
Well, get me that old portable cardio stimulator.
Oh my God, no power.
All engineering and house sick bay systems put on priority.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. Woo! Really good attention to detail there. There we go. Lights are back on. Bones allowed himself a smile there. Hey, dickhead. Why do we bring him here?
Who are you?
Find your own answers, Captain. You haven't long to live.
You're a spy, surgically altered to pass as an Andorian.
Speculation, Captain.
Prove me wrong, dickhead. Take this guy to the airlock. Let's let him see his friends again. That's why I'm not in the chair or in Starfleet.
What are you doing?
You speculate.
We're killing your friends.
Stand by your phases, Mr. Gerald.
Aye, sir. Phasers standing by.
They're gonna think she's dead.
Just hovering out there, sir.
Looking us over. We're dead as far as he knows.
You're baiting him.
Damn right. The guy to your left is Jim Kirk.
Hold your fire, Mr. Jagoff.
Lasers locked on target. Range. Closing.
I want you to be here to see this.
Fire.
Got him!
Did you like the show?
Lieutenant, open the hailing frequency. If they wish to surrender.
Nope.
They could not surrender, Captain. They had orders to self-destruct.
Okay. What about you? Check his teeth for like cyanide or the Star Trek equivalent.
See, I had orders to self-destruct, too. Slow poison. Quite painless, actually, but there's no known antidote. I anticipate another 10 minutes of
Take him to
life.
sick bay.
It's calculated.
Son of a bitch.
Are you quite through shaking the ship around?
Spock, Sark, how are they?
Well, I don't mind telling you, you sure make it difficult for a surgeon trying to...
Bones!
Captain.
I mean, dude, I'm going to argue about telling you if they're alive because I can't think of anything else.
That big-headed Vulcan stand. I couldn't have pulled him through without it.
Some doctors have all the luck.
I believe you'll find the alien.
We damage the ship. They destroy themselves to avoid capture. Bones?
You're up to speed.
I think you'll find he's an Orion, Doctor.
Orion?
No shit.
Mutual suspicion and interplanetary war.
Yes, of course, with Orion carefully neutral. They'd clean up by supplying dilithium to both sides.
Both sides. Warmongering or profiteering.
The thing I don't understand is why I didn't think of it earlier.
You had a little bit on your mind.
You might have had something else on your mind.
Yeah, it's been a day.
Spock acted in the only logical manner open to him. One does not thank logic, Amanda.
Logic. Logic. I'm sick to death of logic.
How about recognizing the logic?
Emotional, isn't she?
She has always been that way.
Indeed. Why did you marry her?
At the time, it seemed the logical thing to do.
Vulcan insults and humor, my favorite.
Doctor, I think I'll return to my station now.
You are at your station, Mr. Spock.
You are at your station.
I believe you're enjoying all this.
Indeed, Captain. I've never seen him look so happy.
Shut up.
Well, Bones, you got him right where you want him.
Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.
Please let that be the leave line. Nice. What a great episode. Oh, an excellent, excellent episode. Holy smokes, friends. I loved that episode. We just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 10, Journey to Babel. And the only thing left to do is talk about it. All right, everybody, we just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 10, Journey to Babel. This one rocked. This was an incredibly well-constructed episode. I struggle to think about one that was constructed even as well as this one. This one was really, we had multiple plot points, multiple threads, multiple narratives, which is basically the same thing. All of them kind of being spun up with an expert job in the conveying by DC Fontana and the showing by Joseph Pevney. Really great team, strong ass team between Fontana and Pevney there to get this show, this episode as tight as it was. Really, really good. In fact, I was a little kind of set back on my heels whenever we kind of did that hard cut to the Andorian fighting Kirk. But you know what? That's exactly the type of destabilization that the episode needed at that moment to really kind of start the avalanche with several systemic, Kirk gets hit, he gets hurt, Spock has to take command, Spock can't help out Sarek. Really great shit. And again, you have the threat of this mystery ship outside there. And, you just all of the inner dynamics that are going on with like the Tellurites and the true Andorians and, at this high stakes kind of acceptance into the Federation. We get a broad strokes look at how that process works, how many different races are being like brought in to kind of like, yay or nay, what's going on, where you have like the first type we've ever seen, like the Tellurites and the Andorians, Vulcan representation, all of like the core Federation planets or species or races, I should say. Really, really well done. Just, showing us a lot about not only the Enterprise and this mission of the week, but the universe. Kind of like, hey, everybody, here's some shit for you. And it was dope. I mean, they just really went for it. Mark Leonard played fantastic as Sarek. I say Sarek, but it's Sarek. I always, for whatever reason, I thought it was Sarek. But help me out with that, everybody. I thought for sure, like in the movies especially, it was Sarek. Now they're saying, absolutely, I wrote it down several times, Sarek is how they pronounced it. So I'm curious, everybody, what's right, what's wrong? Does it change, or am I me? I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm me, because I'm the one that I always mispronounce stuff. But really great job. Sarek and Amanda were great. I love the dynamic. I love the right hand to right hand, my wife. Boom, boom, they walk off. That was really cool, really sweet, but a really good representation of not only where Spock came from, but who we were looking at for Spock. Spock came from two people that we've never met before, and we have to be able to be aware of exactly, what elements of Sarek does he have? What elements of Amanda does he have? You know, how is he able to basically be Spock? You know, having an idea of who his parents are doesn't speak to, like, you can't say, well, you know, she's like this and he's like that, and so he has to be like this. That's not what I mean. What I mean is we get elements of like his upbringing. You know, Amanda kind of telling that story about how he came back and he was beaten up and she knew he wanted to cry, but he wanted to be Vulcan more, you know? And so we just get a lot of really good backstory that from Amanda specifically that we never would have gotten from Spock himself. Like, that's not a story Spock's going to tell. You know, he's not going to tell the story of his teddy bear with the claws, which I actually watched that episode yesteryear of the animated series before I stopped. I realized that I was ruining a lot of the stuff for myself. I started off watching the animated series and the original series kind of in tandem. And, you know, about 4 or 5 episodes in, people were like, you're going to really ruin stuff for yourself. So I stopped that, paused it. I'll get back to it. But yesteryear was one that I did see, and it was really, really good. And again, that was an exploration of Spock's homeworld, which we got to see, you know, his teddy bear with the fangs, the Salat, I think it's called. Really nice stuff. But again, ton of Spock-centric information brought into this one. You know, incredibly important details, especially about, you know, his lineage and his parents and everything. I think what I was really, I mean, the default to this is you were able to tell the broad strokes tale of the galaxy, you know, all of these different species, like we mentioned, but without sacrificing the story of the Enterprise. You know, this was the Enterprise's moment to have all these delegates on board, you know, to be confronted by this mystery craft that was there to destabilize, and, you know, the Orion craft, I guess, now at this point. And, you know, it was still the Enterprise's show with the universe kind of playing co-star. Just an excellently done episode. I'm going to tell you this, and not once did I see any Shatnerisms, you know, and we know that when there's kind of like a rushed production schedule, or, you know, there's script rewrites, or there's, you know, script confusion. But, you know, with Bill Shatner, whenever there's a problem on set or behind the stage, that's when he starts to get into that timing and that, you know, slow speed up type stuff that he does. But we've talked about it before. It's more of like a convention just for memorization and to help him out. It's a bad habit that he kind of falls into. And it looks like that's actually what's happening. With this episode, nothing. We got some really good acting out of everybody, Nimoy and Shatner. And again, DeForest Kelley, I think this might have been his strongest episode, just with reactionary looks and, you know, barking out orders and things like that. This was a moment for Plum to shine, and shine he did. And I thought he did a really good job. I think that it was a great time to have Christine Chappell come back in, because she was able to really add that measure of weight, you know. Without her there, there would have been no real reason for McCoy to kind of explain what he was doing. He'd be thinking it, you know. There's no one there medically inclined to talk to, especially during the surgery. To have Christine Chappell there, we as the audience get to hear his thought process as she poses questions to him. He says, like, where he is in the surgery. And so that was, again, a really good call sheet addition there for Chappell to come in. But again, the planning in this episode was very tight, very well storyboarded, really, really good execution for each of these plot points that popped up. You know, full disclosure, I was incredibly impressed by this episode. I thought it was absolutely fabulous. And this should be, I'm sure this is no new information to the creatives over at the original series, but boy, oh boy, you want to have a banger episode? You go get you Mark Leonard to come in for whatever role you want to give him, because boy, he plays so well, and his exchanges with both Leonard Nimoy and Bill Shatner were really well done. But the star dynamic of the show there was the one between Sarek and Amanda. Really good stuff. Really, even the insult at the end, you know, it seemed a logical thing to do. Why did you marry her? It seemed a logical thing to do. And then he just lifted up his hands and she smiled and touched fingers. Great stuff. Incredible chemistry between the two of them, which is something you don't think you would say about someone portraying a Vulcan, but by God, did Mark Leonard pull that off. 100% full Vulcan, and he had me like, I know he's joking. You know, I know that he's being lighthearted. I know that he's being serious. You know, great stuff. I know that he cares for Spock, but doesn't know how to say it. I shouldn't say he doesn't know how to say it, he can't say it. And so when she said, well, you should thank Spock. And he's like, well, that's just the most logical thing to do. He didn't really have it. That right there. And I was saying, no, tell him that, you know, he didn't have to. That statement that he made, that was the logical thing to do. That's the Vulcan thing to do. My son did the Vulcan thing, and my son desperately wants to be a Vulcan, so I'm going to reinforce that by making just a bland general statement about how well he did being a Vulcan. Oh my God, great stuff, great delivery, great execution of the lines as they were written. I mean, this was a real banger. This is definitely in, there's so many good episodes. I mean, this is my top, this is rarefied air for me. I think this is incredibly good. This is up here with Balance of Terror. This is up here with City on the Edge of Forever is just, I mean, I'm not sure it can be touched. I hope it can because I've seen something amazing. But in my mind, that one was so good. But we had some great ones in there. Oh, this was a real top 5? Probably for me. I really think it might be. In my head, I was going through my list. I'm like, I'm going to slot this here and bump that down. Top 5, I think. Really good one. But friends, there's so much that went on with this episode. I mean, just so many extras and so much lore that was brought forward by Fontana and then directed out by Pevney. What really went on behind the scenes? And this is the first time that I will willingly invoke the name of the person that can, because I desperately need to know. So I throw myself upon Q's mercy. Q, I need to know. I need to know what happened in Journey to Babel. Q? Greetings, mon capitaines, and welcome to another installment of Q&A. Friends, this is where after having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I'd like to dig a little bit deeper and see what happened behind the camera, because as we've always said, the story behind the camera of the original series oftentimes is just as intriguing as the one in front of the camera. But to keep myself on the straight and narrow and not off into the weeds and talking for 3 hours, I've given myself 5 distinct categories in which to discuss. The first, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the big 8, who was present? Number 4, and the juiciest category of them all, production notes. What went on behind the scenes? And the 5th category, last but certainly not least, a memorable quote from this episode. Friends, let's get started. All right, everybody, for our first category, writer and director, who were they? Well, the writer for this episode was none other than our showrunner, or one of them, DC Fontana. And a little bit more about DC when we get down into the production notes, but again, she stated before that this is one of her very favorite episodes, and many times that this was her favorite episode that she wrote. And so there's more to that down in production, so we'll get into that soon. But who was our director for this one? Well, once again, it's pretty easy for me to remember so far because we've only had 3 directors in this season, the vast majority of them being Mark Daniels and Joseph Pevney kind of trading on and off. And we also have had one Ralph Sininsky offering. So it seems to be a battle of 2 right now for who's going to be the most prominent director in season 2. Let's move on. All right, friends, our second category, guest stars. Did we have some guest stars? Yeah, we had a whole boatload of them, but I decided to kind of drill it down to our 2 most prominent guest stars in Mark Leonard as Sarek. I always thought it was Sarek, but Sarek, and Miss Jane Wyatt as Amanda. More on the Miss part of Miss Jane Wyatt, that's how she was officially credited, down in production notes. Let's move on. Now, my friends, for category number 3 of our core cast, or the Big 8 who was present. Now, the Big 8 consists of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Scotty, Uhura, and our 2 new offerings for season 2 were Chekhov and Nurse Chapel. Well, we had a lot of people in this one, and we did have Chapel and we did have Chekhov. Yay! But we did not have Sulu and we did not have Scotty. Though Scotty was mentioned, Scotty did not appear, so I can't count him. Will we ever have the Big 8 on screen again at one time? Who knows? Let's move on. And now, friends, for the juiciest category of our Q&A, number 4, production notes. What went on behind the scenes? Well, let's get into our first one. Now, I thought this was really cool because the idea for this episode actually stemmed from back in our season 1 episode, This Side of Paradise. And DC Fontana said that whenever she heard the following line from This Side of Paradise, it sparked something. And she thought, man, we really have to explore that. We really have to get into that. And the line was, in This Side of Paradise, Spock says, My mother was a school teacher and my father was an ambassador. That was it. And DC Fontana heard that line and a couple days later went to Gene Roddenberry and said, you know, I think we should explore this. I've been working on something. And they talked about it for a bit and Roddenberry said, go for it. And thus we have Journey to Babel. Let's move on. Now for our second note under production notes. When she was offered the part of Amanda, Jane Wyatt knew nothing of Star Trek. In fact, she thought it was a comedy. And so she expected to have a lovely week of laughing and doing sitcom-y type stuff. But when she got there and realized everybody was incredibly serious, she was kind of taken aback by it. But again, true to her craft and true to being the professional that she was, she fell right into the role of Amanda and made Amanda her own. As a tribute to her long and distinguished career, Wyatt is called Miss Jane Wyatt in the credits. Interesting, 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 and also an honorific. I love it, friends. Let's move on. And so for our next point underneath production notes, and I think this one's very interesting because from everything that I've read, Spock was the most popular character on the show. In fact, I read in one place that he received more, or Leonard Nimoy received more fan mail than the rest of the cast combined. And so all of these bags of fan mail would show up and Leonard Nimoy would be kind of inundated with them. But after this episode aired for a 2-week window, Leonard Nimoy was not the person that received the most fan mail. That role went to Mark Leonard. Playing Spock's father, Sarek, everybody started to write to him as the fans really loved that character. And so it became very quick for all the rest of the creatives to say, oh, it might just be Vulcans that everybody loves. I think that's very interesting, friends. Let's move on. Now, for our next note, we're going to stick with Leonard Nimoy because you would think Leonard Nimoy, you know, as Spock, as the Vulcan, might feel threatened if somebody else came in kind of acting the same way, performing the same way, might steal a little bit of his kind of unique thunder. That's not Leonard Nimoy, apparently, because Leonard Nimoy said the following about this episode, and specifically his mother and father in particular. Mark had a real sense of dignity and the authority that the character needed. Jane was very human, which is exactly what the character needed. They were terrific together. And he made that claim throughout the convention circuits for years to come, that those two, in many ways, even though he informed them on the different Vulcan aspects that he had learned and been told by the creatives, he informed them about how to play everything. And in fact, Spock, or Leonard Nimoy, said, you know, if I could boil down the way to act a Vulcan, a lot of times, since you're not able to use emotion the way that an actor would, I use my hands a lot. And thus, you know, with the Vulcan salute, he said, maybe if you all come up with something you can use for your hands, it would give you more of a way to express these characters. And thus, the two fingers touching two fingers was born. Thank you, Leonard Nimoy. Let's move on. And now, last but certainly not least from our production notes, friends, and I always like to go back to this one, especially when we have an episode that seems to be of the pantheon of the greats. I always refer to the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, the TV Guide poll that was used, where TV Guide went out and asked the question of the greatest episodes of Star Trek, and they polled fans, the cast, the crew, everybody, and they tabulated the scores and came up with what they believe to be the definitive 30-year list of the original series episodes. And so where does Journey to Babel fall? Friends, none other than their 5th best episode of all time. Take it for what you will, but again, I think it's pretty interesting, and this episode definitely deserves high praise. How high? Well, TV Guide says 5th. What do you say? Let's move on. So, friends, for our final category, memorable quotes. What was the memorable quote from this episode? Well, I had to pick two. Because one informs on the other, and plus they're good. And so here's how it breaks down. And this is, of course, an exchange between Amanda, Spock's mother, Sarek, Spock's dad, and Spock himself. The first one attributed to Amanda, where she says, logic, I'm sick to death of logic. And Spock says, emotional, isn't she? And Sarek says she has always been that way. To which Spock replies, indeed. Why did you marry her? And Sarek says, At the time, it seemed the logical thing to do. And friends, thus without compromising Vulcans, humor is exchanged between the two of them. And I absolutely love it when we have Vulcan insults, Vulcan threats, and Vulcan humor. It is a testament to the acting of the actors that are able to successfully convey those things. Great, great stuff. Thus ends another installment of Q&A. Until we meet again, behave.